So last night or early this morning, whichever way you like to look at it. If I don't go to sleep, it's not a night, or it's not a morning, it's still night. But anyway, last night I was doing this and I had a problem with contact, right? I had the rod touched and I took it apart. And when I took it apart last night, I had looked for witness marks and I could barely see witness marks on one side for the cylinders. And when I started looking at the rods, you can barely see witness marks there. And I made sure that I kind of like put some oomph in it a little bit. Not like fucking smashed it, but I put some effort into making contact with the block so I could purposely get witness marks to see exactly where it's touching. Now, even though these aren't the D16 rods and this isn't that kind of block, I still have a general idea where it's at. So I don't really need the witness marks to cut because I have an idea of where I need to be cutting at. But I wanted the witness marks there, so that way I can be 100% sure that we're making contact, and that is the issue. But as you can see here, I'm playing with it, right? We no longer have that problem. And the reason why, the cool thing about this, how significant it is, and I'm going to have to make this a 2-video smush up, so that way I can show you when I take it apart again real quick, that I didn't have to cut nearly as much as I expected I was going to have to clear these rods. So it's very, very minimal notching to get these to pass in. And that is awesome. See, my problem is my snap-on drill, which fucking kicks ass when it works right, decided to take a shit in the second time of its 7-year life. So it needs to be sent out to Snap-on for a rebuild. And but in the process, I went and got a $20 drill from Harbor Freight. I didn't think I was going to need to use it for anything more than honing a cylinder and or using it to help polish the valves up. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I got what I got, and I needed the block notch. So I started notching the cylinder, and I didn't get all the way through notching the first cylinder before the battery died. Now, it might be it died because it was sitting on a shelf or whatever. I don't know. And also, it's cutting very slow because it doesn't have the kind of power that my normal drill does. So I'm like, fuck, this is going to take forever. Normally, it takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to cut a D16. This is taking considerable more time on cutting the cylinder. But even though it's taking more time to cut, the cuts was super shallow on this side, and it cleared. The other side is, I'd say, about twice as big as this cut, but still not as deep as I would normally take it for a D16. So I was actually surprised that this was able to pass. But because the battery was dead and the only thing I can do is wait for it to charge, I figured let me just go ahead, grab some old bearings, and see if it fucking passes. And it does. Now, there's a chance that once I get the entire rotating assembly mated up together, that it'll still hit. So there's still a chance that I might have to do this again. Like, I might have to take it all apart and put it back together again. But it is what it is. You know, we got to check. This is the first time I've ever had to cut for this kind of block, for these kind of rods. So I don't know exactly where it is until the product is finished. Now, so now the only thing you do is keep going, and I'm hoping. So what I'm going to do is when the block is, or when the battery is done recharging, I'm going to do the shallow cuts for the rest of them, and then I'm going to put everything together loosely. Or I'm going to put everything together hand tight, not really torqued down. And that should be able to tell me whether or not it's going to clear. Once everything, even it doesn't have to be torqued necessarily, but just it has to be all tight. Nothing can be popping up. And then, you know, just spin it and see if it works out. Now, this video should fade to black for a second or whatnot. And then come back and I'm going to actually show you the depth of the notching. Flash now. So, maybe, yeah, I'd say that's a lot shallower than what I would do to cut for the D16. Like, if I was cutting a D16, that would be a lot deeper cut. But you can see here on this side, the cut is fucking minimal. It's almost non-existent. It's barely there. So the notching was super small. And if you're wondering, you know, about the expansion rates and wondering, well, how close is it to the rod? Will the rod expand and touch it? Now that the girdle is off the block, I was able to actually stick my fucking face in there and watch the rod pass. And I think it's like 0.008 of an inch or some shit like that it called for clearances between block and rods when you have when you're doing notch work. And it was a sizable gap. It's a sizable gap. Now, why didn't I show you that when I was doing it? Because it's kind of hard to stick a phone in that gap for you to see, but not so hard for me to stick my eyeball in it. So anyway, So you can see, like I said, again, you can see here, super minimal notching. This is I know that a lot of people are shy or don't want to do the notching because of how much material has to come off and being worried about fucking that up or whatnot. But you can see here, man, it's the notching is barely had to be done for this to work out. Now I might do, because it's so fucking shallow, I might do 1 or 2 more quick pass lines just to be sure. But like I said again, even this side isn't very deep. It's nowhere near as deep as I would cut for the D16. I would cut a lot deeper than that usually. And so yeah, so this is one of those things where if you are building your big boy, big horsepower block, and you got these big ass rods you need to make clearance for, you're not gonna have to take off too much material. And if you have a really good drill gun, it's not gonna take you no time at all. It'll take you next to nothing. Like the other day, that K20 sitting right there, it has a little bit of rust and pitting at the bottom of the cylinders right here, and I had to, I wanted to clean it up because I wanted to see how deep the rust went. I wanted to see if there's any kind of possible situation where it's too deep to run soundly. The engine was healthy overall. It was running fine. No spun bearings or anything like that. It was a clean engine block. But still, I can't use that as a product to sell to somebody if I thought there was going to be problems. So what I did was I cut into the material around the base of the cylinder just to get all that rust and pitting out. Also to remove the rust and pitting, because it's, that shit spreads like a virus. Like if it's there and it's in place, it's going to continue to grow. So just best off to cut the cancer out, so that way it can't continue to spread from that spot. And when I did that, when I was doing that for that block, it took like next to no time at all, which is around about as deep as I cut this here. I don't feel like flipping that block upside down to show you. Just watch the old video and you can see. And that took I think I did all 4 in like 20 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes. It wasn't very long at all for me to remove the cancer. And judging by how shallow that one is, I think that I'm not gonna have to do any cut. I'm not gonna have to do very many deep cuts at all. Like I said, I might go over it a couple more times, just that way once I have the whole rotating assembly in place, it's not going to cause it to come any closer, because I have done that before where I cut shallow and then once I got everything in place, it still made contact. So because it's so shallow, then it's not going to take me much time to just go over a couple more passes to make a little bit more clearance. But yeah, I was really frustrated last night when I ran into this issue because this block was going to be done last night. I thought it was going to take an exponential more amount of work. It doesn't look like it's going to really expand the job time that much. Yeah, because we're going into my work week now, regardless, I couldn't ship it. And again, this guy plans on picking up. So, and I'm not even 100% sure from where he's coming from, but I don't think he's in Florida. So, yeah, this will be done within this week for sure, 100%. If my gun holds up the charge, I'll be able to do this in no time at all. So before I leave to work today, I would imagine that I would have something on all 4 cylinders, and then maybe tomorrow I can go ahead and start torquing shit back in place, torque the crank back in and whatnot. And again, these are used bearings I have. I have a pile down there. A lot of the main bearings, I think these main bearings actually came out of a fucking out of a single cam, but but anyway, a lot of those, like the B, K, and all that shit, they have the same mains. The journals, it's just the rods that are all different or whatnot. Anyway, so regardless, it doesn't matter. It's in place. It was able to spin properly. Yeah. So I don't want to use brand new $100 bearings to test the rotation. Plus, because all I did was kind of brush off the metal shavings right now. Of course I did clean it out. I just don't want it to get caught up in the bearings or whatnot. And we're good, but still, again, just don't want to run test runs on $100 bearings. So. All right, guys. Yeah, just thanks for watching. Social media links are in the description down below, and hopefully this helps you guys out if you're thinking about planning to do a bigger build with these bigger rods for a K series. And it's probably going to be the same with a B series. If you're doing the B series and doing those big ass rods, probably have to make clearance for those too. But not that big a deal. Even your average do-it-yourselfer at home doing it for the first time ever could easily do this. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and peace.